link?
What do you mean whole new link?
Like I have to send this back to everyone?
Possibly. I can't quite tell you how the technology works, but if they're showing up on your YouTube page, they should be able to watch this. Let's see here.
There
we go. You can hear that finally.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get onto your. Like I have to sign. Oh, we got feedback.
There we go. There we go, folks. Let's put our comments on. Let's see here. Bam. Here we go. Why, hello, everyone. We're back. Oh. Why is it showing there we go. That's the one I want. I don't want that banner.
Yeah, you messed up. Hey, we were doing so good for a few weeks here, and epic fail happening right now.
There we go.
We did it.
Congratulations. It's been a crazy week. All right, we'll let that settle in. But we are here. We're back. It's the Friday Night Forum. Send your questions. Hi, Michelle. How you doing? Hello. Welcome. Friday Night Forum. Send your questions, everybody. We've got a few things we're going to talk about today. But as always, we're open to topics as they come in. I believe today we were wanted to talk about the crazy market still, right?
That's what we do.
Yeah. What you want to start with anything, or should we just?
I have so many things to start with. I have buyers, and they're just not winning offers, and they're putting in some insane offers, and it's just crazy out there right now.
It is.
I don't know.
It is crazy. So that actually there was I mentioned to you right before we got on the Republican article.
Yeah.
And they had my picture on there in the snow, which was always fun. They called me because they wanted an interview with a buyer that's currently currently looking, not someone that was under contract, but a buyer that was currently looking. And not only did they want to interview a buyer, but they wanted a photo of the buyer in front of a house. And I'm thinking to myself, what house am I taking a photo of these buyers in front of? The house that they didn't get? So we did the interview. They got interviewed, but they did not want to take a picture in front of a house.
Oh, that's so awful. Oh my God.
That's funny. So but basically the premise of the article is that how crazy it is. The hot market, interviewed a couple of agents, and the reality of the situation is that it's a seller's market. There's not enough houses for the number of buyers that are out there. And we are seeing houses going way over the asking price, to the point where we are starting to ask that question, whether or not an appraisal is even realistic. Right? Yeah. What's realistic about this price? You can only go so high, right? What if we start offering 100, 200, 300 over the asking price? At one point, the lender's not going to finance that, right? So those questions do come up. Is this even realistic when it comes to appraisal? So it's going to be important, to talk to your sellers about that. That's a conversation I have with my sellers. When we're in the situation, the last two listings that we had that we just put under, the past week and a half, all multiple offers, all way over the asking price. But, it's about that preparing that seller, right? Yeah. This is great. And if this works out, awesome. But this may not be realistic when it comes to an actual appraisal. So you need to make sure that you're basing your numbers off of a worst case scenario in case we end up in a situation where we have a shortage on the appraisal and we, can't negotiate. Now, as you know, what are some people doing ahead of time to avoid that on the seller side, or even some buyers?
What are they doing to avoid a low appraisal?
Yeah.
They're offering to pay above appraisal, pay cash above appraisal.
Yep.
Whatever amount they have excess cash. Yeah, I don't have any buyers doing that. I don't recommend it. I would rather you just wait, rent for a while.
Yeah. So I actually I've had some people do it. I did recently this week put someone under contract where they went with a an over appraisal wording. We went significantly higher over the asking price, and again that question becomes up. If you get 10 offers and they're all way over the asking price, how do you kind of choose which one to take if you're thinking that you have that possibility of a shortage on an appraisal, right? Whereas a buyer can alleviate the seller's concern, at least in this situation, Mr. and Mrs. Seller or whoever you are, that if there is a shortage, you're going to get that appraisal amount plus, whatever it is that we're willing to pay above that appraisal. Now, you do have to word it in a way so that your buyer's not locked into paying above even what their current purchase price is. And you also want to make sure the seller understands that if the house appraises above the purchase price, then yeah, we're not now adding on to that, which some sellers think that that's actually the case.
Yeah,
when they're negotiating this
correctly, I can imagine if it's not worded correctly in the offer, that could really hurt somebody.
Yeah. There's a couple of ways to word it so you can protect them. Like I said, we went through that this week, and making sure that the buyer doesn't go above the original offered amount. But making it clear that again, if we're low on that appraisal, we'll pay X amount over that appraisal amount in order to alleviate the seller's concerns. Let's see what we got here. Not sure how accurate Zestimates are, but it was pretty on point when we purchased, and now it's saying the house is up $80K more after 3 years. Very possible. Very possible, Tim. Yeah, we are actually seeing huge jumps in values, even from fall of last year to now. We're seeing jumps in prices for houses that sold, last year. There's less houses now, more competition, so prices have just continued to tick up and up and up. We've even have a potential seller that bought their house last year and is thinking about selling now, and it's going to be more than what they bought it for.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is a unique situation because most people aren't going to say they're that short term, but the way the situation came up with them is that, they may need to sell. And there was a concern at first, like, oh my goodness, I'm selling so quick. Well, that's fine. In this scenario, there's equity, there's tons of competition, and it's going to be pretty easy to sell that house.
Yeah. I mean, I sold my brother a house a couple years ago, and I did the CMA on his house, and I was like, oh, holy crap. Like the amount get off in just 2 years. It was absolutely insane. And literally his next door neighbor listed, and it was a smaller yard, and got way more. I was like, we need to wait for this to close in order to get your CMA higher. And it's absolutely insane right now.
Yeah. There's a couple things you can do on that CMA or even your own appraisal, is looking for those properties that are currently under contract. Now, it can be difficult determining what those prices are, because there are a lot of reasons why the seller and the listing agent will advise the seller not to disclose what that price is that they ended up going under contract for. So there's a little bit of a, like I said, depending on the situation, you may not be able to find out exactly what the price is, but you should be able to find out if it's over the asking price. And if it's close enough to closing, a lot of times you can find out. And their appraisers are actually doing that too, where they're actually reaching out to under agreement properties and using those as their comparables. And then also using the number of offers in order to justify that increase. And then we've talked about this before, right? An appraisal, it's based on the past sales, right? But there's always that room and allowance for the appraiser to work in an increasing market, right, where values are going up, and appraise it for higher than what the houses have sold for before, because of the competition. Now, how much higher is kind of a matter of opinion, right? And not just opinion, but looking at what else is out there. And if you've got every other house that's coming on in the past month is getting 15, 20 offers on it, and is going you know, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 over the asking price, then, you know, that can support, you know, pushing up that appraisal a little bit more, you know, versus a scenario where, you know, we're 10,000 over and, you know, no one else is, you know, selling that much higher. And can we really justify this? With all that competition, tons of offers, and you can show that to the appraiser, that helps justify that increase.
So this brings on like an interesting layer of this, because on Monday, when I did my Monday show, I was talking about, are we headed towards another crash? Because we're seeing this bubble where people are seeing this bubble happening of, you know, prices are inflated. And then back in like 2007, 2008, when everything just bottomed out and crashed, I got a lot of mixed comments on what I was saying, because when you compare it to back then, it's a whole different scenario. Back then we were dealing with variable interest rates, and people, you know, they dramatically increased the interest rates and people just couldn't afford their houses. They were losing houses. What we're seeing now is completely different. But are we seeing, are you thinking that we're going to hit some sort of crash, especially when people are going to start having to, you know, the moratoriums are up and, you know, coming up at what are you seeing all this come to?
All right, hold. I do have comments on that, but before I do, Carlos asked to sell his house, and within 2 minutes, it was too late. He already had 16 cash offers. I had to. As soon as I saw that,
2 minutes later, 16 cash offer. That's about right.
Yeah, that's about right. It's about right. You know, but yeah, you know, I don't. There's a lot of differences between now and then, and I think the key thing that, you know, because yes, there are some similarities, you know, where you have this really rapid, or this really increasing price, and actually it's even more rapid now than it was then. So then people get again even more scared about that. But if you look at the inventory that was available at that time, we were in a completely different market, you know, in terms of where we are now. Now, you know, we weren't dealing with, you know, less than a month supply of inventory. We had hundreds of houses on the market in Springfield at that time while the prices were going up. And part of the reason that the demand was so strong at that point was because everybody was able to get a loan, right? There was so many different programs out there. The bar was really low in terms of getting people in there. And then also the loans, like you said, that variable interest rate, that killed a lot of people.
Starting at like 1%. And then just increased up to like 6.5 in the very short period of time. It was insane.
Yeah. I mean, when we got our first house, I think we were at 6.5, and we did have a variable, and we had to redo everything. But at that point, the variable was going to go up to, I think the max was going to be like 9 at some point. But we were lucky enough to get out of that, you know, and so we still have that house, much lower rate now, that property. But, you know, at the time, that's what you were getting, right? And so, you know, you had those people who were just barely qualifying, right, to get into that property. And then now there's a big jump in payment. Yeah. And then as soon as you had that big jump in payment, you know, people couldn't necessarily afford to maintain those properties anymore. And then because you were already in a situation where we weren't in an extreme seller's market, you know, there was a, you know, bit of a seller's market, but it wasn't like an extreme seller's market. And then because of that, when, you know, all of a sudden more properties came on the market, right? All of a sudden we had a big jump in supply, because all those variable rate mortgages came across, you know, mortgages went up. And then all of a sudden now we had hundreds and hundreds. At one point we had over 600 houses on the market in Springfield alone, you know, in terms of what was available. Yep. We got 50 something houses now, you know, so, you know, when you're looking at that difference there, it's that whole idea of supply and demand, right? Now, we have still high demand right now, right? We're not, you know, even though there are some programs coming out, you know, like, you know, some of these grant programs, maybe we don't necessarily need them because we have so much demand already.
Yeah.
FHA even now has 100% financing option available. So there's a tons, and there are still some of those loans available, but the tons and tons of people were already out there looking to buy. Right now, this current market has to do a lot with the last market because we stopped building after the market crashed. Right? They stopped building houses as much as we were. And because they stopped building, that demand slowly built up to the point where it's ridiculous. And we never jumped back to really building the way that we should have, and now it's too late. We're behind the ball. At this point, if we start, you start building today to meet the demand, and you're still looking at it a year, 2 years before, you got to do development. There's so many people looking for houses. The only other, yeah, and then that's the other problem. So you add that, you add the fact that yes, at these increases in prices, that would trigger for those, new constructions to pick up even more. But then you add the fact that, all of a sudden the materials are way more expensive. New construction house for the same exact house that you got last year cost $25,000 more materials, just materials. Mm-hmm. So you add that on top of that. Again, it costs too much to actually build. And if you're not building those houses, if the population continues to rise and the number of houses stays the same,
what's going to happen?
It's going to happen. Supply and demand.
Yes.
You got a ton of people and only a set number of houses. So you really need to alleviate the supply by building. That's what we really need to do. Building. We need to do more smaller lots. Tiny home construction. I think that's a huge opportunity right now for developers. I think it's a huge opportunity for cities and towns to get involved into this type of stuff, where they can create developments where you can do tiny neighborhoods, those types of things, or even doing some buildings where you do condos and stuff like that. Yeah. And as the governor was it earlier this year signed the housing choice bill, so that it allows cities and towns in order to adopt new zoning reforms or new zoning laws. So right now, you actually need a 2/3 vote in order to change any zonings. So if your town has a certain requirement, and yeah, we've got this land over here, right? We've got this huge lot. We can do something here, but the zoning just doesn't allow for it. But we know there's a huge opportunity here. You can go ahead and, again, you need 2/3 of the people to approve that. But if the town adopts the new rules, now you only need 50% of the town in order to sign off on that zoning change. So hopefully that will help alleviate some of the concerns or some of the issues that we have with building. But if the towns don't adopt that, right, and if that even if they do, that's not going to happen overnight. So that's a slow process. I just can't see a scenario at the moment where this is just going to drop out from under us. But what I do see though is because we're doing this. Hold on, let me get the camera right. I'm looking at it. We're doing this. I see more of that evening out, that leveling out. No, not yet. That's what I'm seeing this, and my expectation is that it's going to be more of a curve and then evening out. It's not going to be a drop. I just can't see that scenario because we've got, again, with the number of houses on the market. If 100 houses showed up on the market tomorrow, you'd be like, oh my God, like that's crazy. Right now. we still would not have enough houses for the number of buyers that are out there today. That's saying 100 new houses showed up today, and we'd still be in a seller's market. We'd still be in the seller's market at that point. And so you'd have to really have a scenario where all of a sudden the number of houses coming on the market is, tripling, quadrupling, again, drastically increasing, and the number of buyers is just completely falling away and nobody's looking to actually buy a house anymore.
Yeah. And what's adding to the strength of what's going on now is the best buyers are the ones purchasing the houses. They're the ones that have saved all that cash. They're the ones that are highly qualified. It's like the best of the best are getting houses right now. And that adds to, back in 2008, 2000, people were losing their houses. They were on the lower end, and, they had these subprime loans, and they weren't the best qualified. So they lost their houses. I don't see that happening now.
Yeah. This actually was the article that I wrote for Banker and Tradesman. I wrote an article for Banker and Tradesman. I think it was in January or February.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
The question that I posed was, did the 2019 real estate market just strengthen home ownership in the Pioneer Valley? Because if you look again, that same scenario, you go back to when everyone was buying those houses before, they weren't necessarily well qualified, getting tons of grant funds and all that stuff. Whereas now, yes, prices are higher, right? But because there's so much competition, most of the buyers that are winning are the ones that are the most qualified, right? Yeah. They're typically buying well under their purchase price, right? They're paying their own closing costs. Right. A lot of times they're going conventional. So there's a little bit more money that they're putting down. And not many cases, but in a lot of cases, they're paying over an appraisal amount. So you got people who have saved, who can show that they can, put money away, that they're financially responsible. And so I would imagine, even if we did have a scenario where, let's say, the market, gets a little bit tougher, the prices do come down a little bit. One, these people were in a much better financial situation than the people who were buying before in 2008, right? And then two, they're all locked in on their mortgages. Yep. So they're not looking at, increasing, monthly payments. And then the other thing is, still what they're paying is not that crazy if you look at their actually monthly payment, because the rates are so low, right? So with low rates, you could actually spend more on the purchase price of a house, right? But pay less overall on the house because it has a low interest rate, versus paying, $50,000 less for a house, but then your interest rate is way higher. And over the life of that mortgage, you're actually going to spend more money. Yeah. So when you're looking at it that way, it's not, the rates staying, lower, it's not as unaffordable as people are thinking it is, right? They say, oh, the prices are going up, the houses are getting so expensive, unaffordable. No, if you look at the cost of what you're carrying, it's not as crazy as you think it is.
And I did talk about this on one of my Monday shows. It actually showed, I took a mortgage calculator and I put in a rate from like 4 years ago, and then I put a rate from today, and I had a higher purchase price from today. And the overall take home, or the overall amount paid in interest, was less, and then the house was more. It was like, and I'm like, see, because people, they get fixed on the purchase price.
The price, yeah.
It's like, but you don't realize a $200,000 mortgage over the life of it, you're paying like $475,000. Like, you're not actually just paying $200,000. So you have to look behind those numbers and see what's actually going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a conversation we have a lot with buyers anyways. How long are you going to be in this house?
Yes.
Right, because if this is a longer term investment, or a longer term stay, then yeah, I mean, that you're looking at that long term, right? But if it's, let's say I'm buying a house, today, and I know I'm moving in 2 months, or not 2 months, I'm sorry, 2 months, in 2 years, you don't want to buy. You may not necessarily want to buy, depending on, again, what your long-term goals are. I feel like I'm missing something. You were laughing for a second there.
Oh no, your mom said I educated her.
Oh, educated us on Monday.
I have my own YouTube channel.
Yeah. So, all right. So I there was another point I was about to make, and now I don't remember what it was.
Your mom distracted me. Sorry, and then distracted.
She did. Well, April's with us today. I don't know if April wants to say hello.
Hi.
All right, here we go. Jerry Roy. Yes, points are dead on. These are much better buyers in 2007, 2008. Yes, much better buyers. So, and then the other thing that I think about, and again, going back to that same article, everybody who already bought a house, let's say since the 2008, right? Everyone that had bought a house within the last, 10, 15 years, they got to take advantage of the refinancing of lower rates, right? So you couple the fact that everybody who was staying in their neighborhoods now can even more afford those houses, right? So that makes those neighborhoods a lot stronger. And then two, all the buyers who are currently moving into those neighborhoods, again, are these most qualified buyers, the ones that were able to meet the competition the most, that were able to pay above and beyond and do all those things. So to me, when people say, "Oh, this is similar to before and we're going to have a crash," I just don't see it. We've got strong neighborhoods, we've got strong buyers, we've got strong people there, and then I also think that people remember what happened before, and I think anybody who owns a house or bought a house, because there are people who did buy a house before, went through the point of having to go through either foreclosure or short selling their property, and then now it's been long enough where they've been able to get back out there. Those people, I can't imagine a lot of those people are making the same mistakes they were before as well. So I think once you get through some sort of the situation and you live through that type of market, you're probably going to be a lot more cautious moving forward. And maybe that's a lot of the people that we are hearing, oh, it's going to crash, I can't believe these prices and stuff, because they did go through that. But if you've got an agent that can educate you about this, it's less, there's less fear once you kind of grasp some of these ideas, right? And when we're talking about those overall costs long term, looking at that monthly payment, also considering what you're getting for rent.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I always tell people, buying a house is a horrible investment. Don't do it as an investment, right? It's not something that you should be looking at like, I have to make money on this.
Yeah.
No. You should be buying a house for a place to be your home. All right. And there's value there. If you put value on a vacation, then why wouldn't you put value in use on a home? All right. So if you buy a house for $200,000, right, and I live there for 5 years, and I sell that house for $190,000. Oh my God, the price went down, I lost $10,000, right? Well, you lived there, right? There was value in the fact that you owned your property. There was value in the fact that you got to make your own personal choices on your land, right? There was value in the fact that you had that place to build your memories, with your family. And so if you put value to anything in terms of experiences, right? Because people put value to going out to a nice restaurant. People put value to going out on vacation, to experiences and doing things. Your home where you live in is your life experience. Come on, that's the biggest experience you're going to have, is where you live in, right?
Yeah.
There's value to that. And
who's making the most money off the houses? The next generation. So when the house gets passed down and, the parent, you pass away as a parent, you pass this down to your kid. They're the ones that will benefit from it. And if they stay in it and they pass it down, that's where you really get more value. And that's where the real money is. But I do have to say hi to Joe. He just closed on a house, new happy homeowner. So excited for him and his family. Thank you for your service. He was an amazing buyer. But all right, I had to say that. I saw his face. I saw him pop up there.
Awesome. Yes, there is value in the thing that you do. Now, real estate. Now, even though I say real estate is a horrible investment, you should not look at it as an investment. Okay, you should be looking at it as your place that you're living. Right now, yes, you can use real estate as investment to buy investment properties. But we were talking about residential homes that you're living in, right? You should not be looking at that as your investment. Now, yes, you can make money on a house, right? And real estate is still, even though, again, don't look at it as an investment, it is still the number one way that families build wealth over time.
Yes.
All right. And the reason that is, if you're not focused on the price that you bought it for and the price that you sell it for, forget that. Right. And you look at the fact that if you didn't own a property, you'd be paying rent. Right. So you're paying rent somewhere. and you're paying someone else's mortgage. So it's not like you're not paying a mortgage at that point.
Yeah.
And then you live there for 30 years or however long it's going to be, and you go to move, you don't have any asset that you've built up. Yes, you had value in the fact that you had a place to live, right? But you didn't get anything in return. Whereas your home that you're buying, you're putting that money into it. Yes, there's costs involved, but if you live there through the life of that loan, and then you go to sell it, even if you sell it at a loss, there's still more value there than there would have been in renting for 30 years, right? And then there's still, value and actually huge value, which is, I can't even stress how much more valuable this is when you do see those situations where the family's lucky enough to be able to pass that property down, because now that next generation has that property, right, where they can, again, get that same value out of it. And if that's been paid off, that's even huge, right? Yeah. That puts that family in a huge financial position in order to continue to build wealth for the next generation beyond that. And again, that's how real estate becomes the number one way that families build wealth. They're not saying individuals, they're saying families. This is that generational type thing. And then that next family, they hold on to that, they have more money to invest into other things and again, continue to build, or maybe they sell that house to then get the next bigger house, right? And then that gets paid off with that generation and gets passed down and then eventually goes on. Or the money needs to be available for a nursing home.
Oh God. So, Maria, if your kids ever put you in a nursing home, I'm gonna take you.
But you know what? She does make a very good point though. Yeah. This is really important too, because there's value there, right? So now you have this tool that not only you utilize to grade your family, to live there, build your memories, but now you can use that to help for things like a nursing home, right? To help with longer term, end of life care or something like that. There's all sorts of things you can then utilize the property for. Don't think of it as an investment. What am I buying for? What am I selling it for? Forget that.
Very narrow-minded, right? When you think that way, when you're trying to make the quick buck off of it. I mean, of course, if you can do it, but I mean, that is not overall how real estate works and how you really build wealth.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of sellers right now that are making that money.
Yeah, totally.
Right now. Yeah, which is great, and that's a huge bonus. But if you do end up in a position in the future where you're selling, and it's for the similar or even less what you bought it for, remember that you had value there. There was still value. Okay, always important to remember there. All right. Did you have any other anything else in particular you wanted to bring up, or?
Yeah.
What do you think?
You know what I want to talk about right now?
With deferred showings.
Deferred showings. I get them. I understand them. I get why people use them. They are frustrating right now. They are super frustrating. And there are a lot of, and I posted something on Facebook, very simple comment. Like, I'm just annoyed. I didn't say I didn't say anything crazy. And then in my comments, I was like, oh, people are like really on both sides of this right now. So yeah, it's frustrating, especially for me being mostly a buyer's agent. Because and then they have open houses for an hour and a half on a Saturday. It's like, seriously? Like I want to be
that one's tough.
Oh God.
That one is tough.
Yeah.
And it's in this, the whole subject is tough because, I've seen this situation where the seller, has like, hey, I got a limit or whatever the situation is, because in the end, it's actually not, up to the agent, it's up to that seller, right? How I'm going to allow access. Now the agent is advising the seller, which is very important to understand. Now what I've typically been doing, in the past, before 2020, 2019 and before, doing that deferred showing till the initial, open house, and then doing a continued showing for a couple of days, that was fairly traditional. A lot of people kind of did that scenario because we weren't in such a crazy market. And you did, even though there was buyers out there, part of the strategy was to kind of increase that demand, or the idea that there's a lot of activity on the house at that moment, right? So, if you knew you were going to have 10 showings that week, typically when you first put a house on the market, get all 10 people there that weekend. And it wasn't that much of an issue, and it kind of worked out. And a lot of times people would, again, show for a couple of days. But now what I typically do is, if it's not a strain on the seller, or at least that's what I did with my last single family listing, is, we listed it, showing started, the next day, and we showed for 3 days straight, ending with an open house. Right. That way people were able to get out there. They had a young kid and a dog and everything. And we knew we were going to have tons of offers. So it's like, we're not going to show this thing for 5 days, but we also want to get a good amount of days. So we wanted to make sure we got a weekday. So it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, end of the day. Boom. We ended an open house at the end of that day. Ton of people ended up with a bunch of offers, worked out great. But I've also seen that other scenario. And then these were people that are living in the house. Now, if the house is vacant, show right away, right? Why wouldn't you show it right away? Show right away. Now, I've seen a couple situations where the showings are deferred on a vacant house until a couple of days. And it's like, well, why is that? Again, we never know. And so I guess there could be that type of scenario where maybe the seller's doing some work, or maybe something's going on. But I would hope that if the house was available, the agents would be encouraging that seller to get access right away. Right now, on the other end of it, I have seen some people say that they're concerned about the number of people getting in over a longer period of time because of sanitation concerns. So if, let's say, you do show starting today, right, and then we're going to go show for the next 5 days, someone who's in a compromised situation may want to have the property cleaned, after every showing or after every day of showings. So doing that deferral could potentially be a reason why they're doing something like that. Again, we never know what the reason is. Now, what you're going to say, we never know. We never know.
So last year, when everything really, we were getting knee deep in COVID and all that, we weren't seeing this as bad as it is now. You can't tell me. I have literally gotten 20 houses to show, and they're all deferred. This is heavily agent driven. You can't tell me it's not. This is the agent be like, hey, we're just going to cause this frenzy and we're going to put them all in one day. And the reason, obviously, I get the sanitation. I get there are special reasons why, but we were through this last year and it was not this bad. It was not as bad as it is this year. So right now, to me, it's, and this is not like bad talking any agents or anything, but it shouldn't be the go-to thing. All right, we're going to defer showings to Saturday. We're going to cause things to go crazy. We're going to have everybody here in one shot. And to me, it's most people, I would say like 80% of people can for 5 days work things out. So they're not home. They can leave for a few hours a day. They can work that out for it to happen. But to me right now, it is absolutely heavily agent driven. And
that's good. So one of the concerns is again, if you get in that multi-day, what times you're showing it. And actually something I did see recently this week, which I thought was actually a good idea. They're doing multiple blocks through over the multiple day period.
Yeah.
So I imagine, again, the seller's concerned about, what if I have a showing at 9 a.m. and I got showings all the way straight till 8 o'clock? When can I actually get in the house at that point? So I am starting to see some of those. But again, it's that scheduling that time, right? They're not open house setups. One of the things that I did get, and again, you never know what the situation was, but I was one where it was a 2-hour block, 15-minute showing appointments, and that was the only 2 hours they were going to show it. So 8 showings. They're only going to allow 8 showings that
How
for
is
the
that
property.
helping the seller at all at that point?
Again, you don't know what the situation is, but you would hope that the seller was encouraged to allow as much access as possible to that property. Now, with those deferred showings, keep in mind, people can still make an offer on those houses, right? And in any situation where a seller says best and final by a certain date, they can still accept an offer at any time, right? And actually, you're even seeing agents do that, which is such an oxymoron. It's such a contradiction to say best and final is due Monday at 5 o'clock, but the seller can accept anything at any time. So then why not submit your best and final offer as soon as possible?
That's what I tell my buyers. I'll be like, it says final, best and final by Sunday, but the seller can take an offer whenever they feel like it. I say that, so don't wait until Sunday, even though it says it right in the listing Sunday.
Yeah.
So
one thing you could do, and I've thought about this because when you think about it, there's a whole lot of pressure for the agent, on the buyer side, obviously, and even the seller. If let's say you do have a situation where we want to show it right away. Right. So we want to show right away, and we know we want to show it, we'll start showing it on Tuesday, right? That buyer that gets in there Tuesday morning, they're going way up and they're pressuring you to make an offer right now, make a decision. And then your seller's thinking, well, I don't know if this is the right decision right away. I'm kind of freaked out because I already know there's 50 other people coming, and I know there's a ton of people coming this weekend. So what if I take this and then realize it was something better, or the terms were better, or whatever the case is? So the seller can, and again, talk to your agent about this. The seller can give a written direction to not present any offers till a particular date. All right. If the seller has not given that written direction to the agent, all offers must be presented right away. They have to be presented right away because that's the way it is. Unless your seller has instructed you not to present the offers until a particular time, you have to present the offers. So I do suspect there's a lot of agents advising the seller, hey, we're just going to hold off, and then they get an offer, they see it, and they're like, oh, I should probably bring this to the seller. As opposed to the seller saying, I don't want to see anything until a particular day and time. Because if the seller gave you the clear direction that I'm not looking at offers until Monday, 5 o'clock, because that's the best and final, then there is no, well, then we reserve the right to accept an offer anytime, because you're not going to see any offers. Does that make sense?
But as a listing agent, let's say the seller lists on Tuesday and says, I don't want to see offers till Sunday, and you can show the entire time, right? Don't want to see till Sunday. Somebody on Tuesday night offers $100,000 over asking price cash, but gives you until tomorrow, gives you until Wednesday. As the listing agent, like, how do you keep that to yourself?
Well, whether or not you do, I think, I think it's a decision you do have. You do have that choice, because think about it. The seller's given you that instruction. Mm-hmm. Now, if you've just advised the seller and the seller was like, all right, and then I would present that offer right away. But if the seller was clear and give you a clear written instruction to not present any offers, then I wouldn't present it. But I would say, hey, do you want to reconsider that instruction you gave me about presenting offers? Because you might want to reconsider that instruction you gave me about presenting offers. But I also, wonder about the type of offer that's coming in when you've clearly told the other agent and the buyer, like, the seller's clearly said they're not looking at offers. He's not going to see, or she's not going to see it. No one's going to see this offer. And then they still do that to you. Like, oh, get back to me within 2 hours.
I mean, in this market, I could see that happening because that buyer doesn't want to waste their time waiting 6 days for their offer to be accepted or not. And
That's true.
100 other houses, I guess not these days, but 5 other houses in the market.
One other house might come up.
Yeah, one other house might come up that they could offer. So I can see where that would be an issue. But I mean, you're right. I guess you could always just re-advise your client to, like, hey, you sure you want to do this?
Are you sure you want to, but, I would also, I guess I would also caution, having some sort of written statement out there. And then if they change their mind, now do you have to kind of notify everybody you gave this statement to before?
Yeah,
you did kind of give them direction. And like I said, it brings up lots and lots of stuff. Up to 62. Woo! Oh my goodness.
From what, 58?
we were at 59 yesterday.
59, yes.
Know what? We didn't hit the 40s. We hit 51.
You're going up.
I think it was.
Damn.
So yes, not many houses on the market, folks. Not many.
It's funny. I was having this conversation at dinner with my dad. We went out to dinner, and he was telling me, he's like, low inventory and all this stuff. And I'm like, Dad, I was like, people are selling their houses. We are selling more than ever. It's just, there's so many buyers. It just can't keep up. People think that people aren't selling. It's like, no, people are selling. They're selling for a lot. There's just so many more buyers than ever that demand just can't, the supply can't keep up with the demand.
No, you're right. Let's pull it. Let's actually pull it up.
We should pull up those numbers if my dad's watching right now.
Yeah. So, like I said, if you look at the actual number of houses that have come on the market, it's a little bit less, in terms of what's actually come on the market, but it's the solds that are way up. All right, let me see here. 5-year. Let me pull up Springfield's.
I think that's also, for anybody that's not in real estate, that makes people nervous when they see that we have such low inventory. They think people aren't selling. They think people are holding because they're scared. It's like, no, if you look at the numbers, people are just wanting to get rid of their houses, and then you got to create the other issues where they don't. That's the conversation. I had that with my brother. I was like, yeah, I can sell your house for $100,000 over what you paid for it, but where are you moving to? Where are you gonna go? I don't think that's gonna take you.
Moving in with you.
Nope.
That is one thing that we were seeing before in the past couple of years. We've actually seen an increase in the number of family homes or multi-generational homes. So essentially you have families getting together and buying larger properties, mansions, multifamilies, those types of things, where you have grandparents, kids, grandkids, maybe even brothers and sisters with their own families sharing a property. You could certainly get a much better location by combining your forces, and obviously a much larger property, though, obviously there's some downsides with living with family. All right, so let's look at what we got here. So inventory. These are the figures as of literally 1 minute ago or 30 seconds ago when I pulled this. This is Springfield. And we typically go over these numbers a lot, but this is to give you guys an idea, or anyone that's watching, really what we're talking about when we're talking about the market and how low the market is. So if we look at the current listings available as of today, right now, there's 60 single families available on the market. 60 single families. If we go back to 2017, we had 191. All right. And if we go back again after the market crash before, we had over 600 houses on the market at that point that were available. Now, and I guess even this is a little bit misleading, because I say 60 houses on the market. This does not include properties that are currently under contract. So when a house goes on the market and it hasn't sold yet, these are the ones that are available, like are ready for offers. There are a whole ton of offers. I'm sorry?
It says if you go down, it says went pending.
Yeah. So that's the went pending. So we've got 428 properties that went pending so far this year. Okay. So that's not far off from what we've seen before. And then the listing units taken, 415 single families again, about last year, not far off from years before. So we're seeing about the same number of houses so far coming on, right? But we look at the solds. Look at this, 337 properties sold so far versus last year, 287 had only sold to this point. Every other year we've beat. 2017, 277 houses that sold up to this point. So again, we've got more houses they're selling faster. They're selling for higher. The average sale price in 2017 was $136,000, and right now it's $222,189, folks. That's a lot of money. That's a big difference. That's like a 80 something, $1,000 increase in the average price. Properties are also selling way faster. 22 days on the market are average days to offer now versus 60 just a few years ago. And then the average sale price of the listing price. So as of right now, look at these numbers, hundreds. So average sale price of the original listing price. So this is including people who did a price reduction. Right now, if you sell your house in Springfield, on average, you get 102.12% of your asking price. You typically sell for more than what you're asking for. Now, this also includes those few properties that we still see them, those houses that it's sitting in a little while that actually sell for less than the asking price. So this includes some of those houses.
Now,
this just goes to show you what.
This does not mean, and we've said it before, this does not mean you can list your house for whatever you feel like it. Speak to a realtor and get comps on your house. Doesn't mean your house, you can sell for $1 million and get 102% over. You gotta, there is a method to our madness. Just,
I mean, it's pretty close, but there is still a method.
Our madness.
Yeah, there is still a method. So when you look at this stuff, again, it just really shows you what we're talking about. Now, this is the number. Again, we talk about this a lot. Months supply. All right. So what this number means is that if no new houses showed up today, how long would it take for all the houses to sell at the current rate of sale? Right now, 0.55. So that's half a month. So again, if no new listings showed up anymore in Springfield, all the houses would be sold in 2 weeks. There'd be no more houses. That'd be it. I don't know what we'd be doing at that point.
But I think it's interesting to look at this now that I'm paying more attention to it. If you look back at 2017, we were at 2 months of inventory, which is still a heavy seller's market. Yeah. And people think that if all of a sudden 2019, 2020 came along and became a seller's market. It's been a seller's market for quite some time.
And it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Yeah. I mean, since I've been in the business, it was a little less back in 2015, but I mean, you can still see what normal balanced market is with 6 months of inventory ish.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're still heavy seller side.
I honestly can't even remember when the last time I seen over 5 months of inventory. I know my career hasn't happened. I can't remember. I mean, it's insane. And when we say this, it's a seller's market. Okay, what does that mean? Right? It's an extreme seller's market, and it's really hard to actually understand that. Because like you said, 5 years ago, it was a pretty strong seller's market, and people weren't talking about how strong of a seller's market was, right? No, they weren't talking about that. I mean, I was talking about it with buyers. Yeah, it's seller's market, price is going up. Great time to buy. If you bought 5 years ago, it was an awesome time to buy, because now I mean, come on, you got another $80,000 on the value of your house, and depending on where you're at, you even saw bigger gains. I think what we were talking about, there was, in some of the towns had seen a $50,000 increase just in the last year alone. Mm-hmm. Never mind over a 5-year spread. And then, within the last couple of months, I feel we've seen prices gone up in the last couple of months. the same houses that would have been selling, put on the market September, to November of last year, coming on now are going even more than what they were before. And I think that whole idea of, wow, I missed out. I wasn't able to make it last year, make it happen. I got to make it happen this year. It's really setting in with a lot of people. And like you said, it's strong competition.
So where are they going?
A lot of well-qualified buyers. Yeah. Would you say where are they going?
Yeah, you good. Yeah, it's a great time to sell your house. It's an amazing time to sell your house. But, where are you going?
Florida.
Yes, yeah.
I got two listings coming up. They're both going to Florida. So I don't know. maybe we can start getting more people to move down south. Increase the inventory up here, let them deal with the buyer problem down there. Enough buyers.
Whatever it takes. I know some people that are leaving down to Florida, so I mean, I guess we can make that happen.
Yeah. So, the other thing is, here we go. I've been told appraisers aren't using 6 months anymore. If possible, trying to use 3 and under. Yeah, I could see that. If they're trying to do that, I'm imagining they're trying to do that because the older sales aren't high enough, right? Because the value has gone up so much in the past 3 months. So I could definitely see that, and that actually does help out sellers, I would imagine. But when I CMA a house, the issue that I run into is that, again, because not enough houses have been coming on the market. There's not a lot of houses sometimes in that neighborhood within the last 6 months. And I try to go with 6 months. So now when I actually price out a property, I go back 18 months at least 18 months. Sometimes I'll go back 2 years. And the reason I do that is now I can at least determine where my floor is. Right. So a lot of times when we're pricing stuff out, we're coming out with a range. Right. So at least if I go back, a year and a half and I found something that's exactly the same as, the house that I'm pricing out, and I see what that sold for, I know the house that I'm pricing is worth more than that now.
Yeah.
Right. So now I've got my floor, and then now I just got to figure out how high could we go. And then we try to tweak that, bring that in a little bit. But, I go back 18 months when I'm looking at some of this stuff. And I don't know that appraisers, if they're using a comp from 6 months or a year ago, and again, the market's moved that much, there's no adjustment that they can make on that particular comp. They've got to use that number, right? So I don't know that they can say, oh yeah, the market's increased by, 10%. So we're gonna add 10% to that. So I guess I could see why they're trying to stick under the 3 months, though it's probably pretty difficult because, again, if there's not enough houses coming on, or less houses, a little bit less houses coming on, there's less stuff that's actually going to close to compare those houses to. Right. So you end up in that tough situation where you need more to sell, but then that doesn't really help because they're not there. Yeah, interesting. All right. Let's see here. Florida license. Yes, let's do it. All right, guys. Anyone have any questions? No other questions? I think what we'll do is let's play a quick game, and then we'll wrap this up. And we won't go too long today. Let's see if I can even close this out. I'm going to close this. I can stop sharing my screen. And oh, where's my song? Here we go. Why, hello, everybody. We're here again for every realtor's favorite game show. What did it sell for? This is where we sit around and we talk about properties and guess what they sold for based on descriptions. You know how realtors are at making descriptions.
I like the old one. I like the ones from years ago.
Oh, this one? Oh, it's the match game. All right, guys. Oh, actually, this is the one I should have done. Price is Right. All right, let's see here, folks. All right, so we're going to start here. I'm going to ask a few questions and see if you guys can answer this. We'll do Springfield. And because, we're talking about the market right now, I'm only going to look at stuff that is sold in the last month in Springfield. Boom. All right, so question number 1. You ready to do this?
Yes.
Where's my, there we go. I lost it for a second there. Okay, question number 1. In the last 1 month, how many single-family houses sold in Springfield?
No,
Was it more or less than 100?
Last month, did more single families or both or all?
Just single-family homes. More or less than 100?
Less. Hold on.
April, do you have a guess here? Don't look at the screen.
I already did.
She already looked at the screen.
I already did. I won't guess.
We got more, we got less.
We got some lesses, a few mores. Oh, it's less.
Less.
Oh, did you just lose me?
Yep.
You did. Yeah. Hold on here.
Yeah, that's how today's gone.
I got the blackout. You know what happened is my battery died on my camera here.
It's
all good.
I have mine plugged into my computer, so my computer's always plugged in, so I'm always going.
Ah, there we go. I'm back on.
There we
There
go.
we go. Ooh.
Oh, we lost light.
There we go.
We just have HeSellsHouses in the background.
Yeah, good thing I got that right. Bam!
He's back.
Oh, I'm back. See,
So
problem solvers. We are problem solvers. That's what realtors do.
We do.
Yeah, look at
So
that.
that's why we always have. We're not salespeople. We're just problem solvers.
Just problem solvers.
The houses sell themselves. It's just
all right. So let's say. All right. So here's the question. The cheapest house that sold in the last month in Springfield, was it more or less than $40,000?
More. Let's see.
Let's see what else we got here. More or less than $40,000, folks. Come on. Come on. We've got a more.
Less.
We've got a less.
There, April.
She's not looking. She's not looking.
Your mom said less.
Well, folks, it was 4 rooms, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath on the market for 394 days, sold at $45,000.
Man, that must be a sight to see.
Yes. And there was actually another property that was 5 rooms, 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths that sold at 45 as well. Both of those sold well below the asking price. First one was listed at 85, sold at 45. The other one at 75 and sold at 45. So see, some houses do sell less than the asking price, folks. It is possible if you're paying cash and willing to do a lot of work. We can find you that deal.
Condition of those houses to sell at that price these days.
Yes. Oh, I actually, one of them I was in before. Oh, we needed a lot of work, believe me. All right, let's go on the other end. Now we're going for the most expensive house that sold in the last month in Springfield. Was a stunning new construction. The kitchen was the heart of the home with an open concept floor plan, quartz countertops, an abundance of white shaker cabinets, large center island with the seating for 5. It was 8 rooms, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, including a fireplace, 2,500 square feet, 2-car garage, tons of parking, built in 2021. I think I mentioned that. It was blue.
Blue. We got points for being blue.
Quiet neighborhood on a cul-de-sac. Should I give you a more or less, or do you want to just pick out of the sky what it sold for?
What zip code is this?
This is 01129. 01129. So that's 16 acres. 16 acres.
I want to say
new
like
construction.
488 just keeps coming into my brain.
488?
488.
Okay. Is that your final answer?
How big is the lot?
0.18 acres.
God, that's a big house.
Oh. 475.
488 is mine.
488. Originally listing at 479.9. This stunning beauty sold at 465. Can you believe? Less than the asking price. New construction house. Of course, you had to almost have $500,000, but still 465. Mom, you were not that far off.
How long was it on the market?
That one was on the market for 15 days.
And it went below asking price. Yeah, I wonder if it was something was negotiated after inspection.
Possible. It's also possible that didn't appraise.
It didn't appraise.
That's another one. Yeah. And actually, it's interesting. Interestingly, on some new constructions, there is no appraisal. There's like a waiver. You may have to pay the difference depending on how you're actually doing the deal. But with some, if the builder already owns it and you're just financing it traditionally, and it's not necessarily a super custom, you may have a situation where the builder will just sell it for the appraisal amount, because if they don't, you have a mortgage contingency. You're not going to buy it. And then now who are they going to sell that custom home to, right? There are some builders that will do like non-refundable deposits on these if you really get customized, or you just put a normal deposit but you pay out of pocket for anything that's custom. So if you get the basic package, you're not paying anything out of pocket. You just got your normal deposit and you close on it if you close on it with no changes. But if you make changes, each change you make on the way, that's out of pocket. So that way, if the builder has to sell to somebody else, they've already recouped their cost on the custom stuff, and now they can sell it at the other price. Yeah. Interesting. All right.
Interesting.
So, bam. Let's pick another one. Let's go to, let's see here. All right. Let's go with a ranch. So this is going to be 16 acres, 01119, 5 rooms, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, just over 1,000 square feet, about a quarter acre, 0.26. It's a wonderful opportunity. Over $70,000 in home improvements. Wow. 1 floor, easy living, convenient, desirable, 16 acres, remodeled kitchen, stainless steel appliances, including a double oven, a widened driveway, vinyl siding, gutters, trim, garage door, stamped concrete patio, newer furnace, central air was installed in 2013. Nice picture window. Let's see here. The 3rd bedroom was converted to have a breezeway, so it's a dining room now. You've seen that before, the slider in the 3rd bedroom on these ranches.
Yep.
Stylish bedroom. Stylish bathroom. And let me see what from the photos. Yeah, it looks fairly updated. Tile in the shower, wood floors throughout, clean basement, not finished. So What did it sell for?
$257,500.
Dang. You know what? I'm just gonna say you was off by $500. You got it.
Dude, I've been looking at all rate. That's all I've been looking at lately.
Yeah.
They're insane right now.
258. Sold at 258. Now that one was originally listed for 249.9 and actually went under and sold at 258. We don't know, however. What is interesting that I would love to know was if this was short on an appraisal.
That's called agent. We should do live calls to agents.
Give a call right now to the agent.
Yeah, we don't know what.
Hey, so how many offers did you have? You're on live right now. Yeah. No, it's so that one only sold for nine over the asking price. Again, may have been a shortage on that appraisal. We do not know, but sold at $258,000. That was
James
pretty good.
249. He was up there too.
249.
That was what it was listed for, right? 240 something.
249.9. No, 3. Yeah. No, we got it, guys. All right. All right. Let's do one last one, and then we're gonna wrap it up today.
Kids. That's a go off tangent here, but had offers on slab foundation houses for like 30,000 over asking price and lost. And I'm like, are we kidding right now? Like, seriously, guys. And there were no comps in the area to justify this, but we're just gonna do it, and we did it. Still lost. It's like, people are crazy right now, and I'm just losing my mind.
It's true. It's true. That slab that I had, that ranch. Oh, James, was it mine?
But it wasn't. No, it wasn't yours. But my buyer was going to see yours, and they're like too much. They're like that. They didn't even want to go. They're like,
we already know it's already sold above our budget. Yeah. That slab that I had, that was way over. Multiple offers too. Multiple people that were way
over. Multiple offers, and it's like 5 years ago, selling slab houses was a tough gig.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost, like I said, it's like, how high can you go before it's not going to appraise?
My game before was, how low can we go? Now it's like,
how low can you go? Yeah.
I'm a fan, but
hey, let's just go 100 over. I mean, if you just made an offer on every house, $100,000 over the asking price, right? And the conversation is essentially, are you willing to pay what it appraised for? And the buyer says yes. Okay, let's offer 100,000 because we know we ain't gonna appraise for 100,000 more.
Seriously, so I've actually had this conversation. We're playing the game now, but I've had that conversation. It's like, I know this house isn't going to appraise 100,000 over, but I also don't have a crystal ball, and things are crazy these days. So
that's the other thing. What if it does?
100,000, and they look at me, and I go, "Well, the appraiser's worth 100,000 more."
Yeah, I didn't tell you what it's worth. I just asked if you are you willing to pay the appraisal value.
Yeah, it's like, I guess if I give that disclosure, it can sell for that much more.
Well, you do the same thing. Do a rough CMA on that house, right? Do a CMA on it to see what do I really think this is going to appraise for. And what's interestingly enough, I actually recently had an accepted offer on a house where I'm looking at it and it was priced less than I was CMAing it at it. So I'm like showing this to the buyer, and so they're just like, oh yeah, easy, we'll pay, above that. And because, and with the understanding that it's probably going to appraise for that too. But having that extra piece of knowledge, seeing that the comps do support a higher price than even what they were asking for at that point, and we ended up getting it, because we ended up going way over.
And it appraised? Did you say it appraised?
We don't know yet. We actually just did inspections today. Just had a home inspection today. And then so we'll get through appraisal within the next week or so.
We should follow up this. We keep this conversation in mind, and next time we do this, we're going to do a follow up to the story and see what happens.
The one that I got my fingers crossed for is this the one that the slab, like I said, that we're way over. We should be hearing from the appraisal in the next couple of days. And that'll
be the one that I lost.
That'll be the determinant. That'll tell us exactly how much we're walking away with. Right. The seller, when we prep the seller, there's an amount that we're expecting in terms of a minimum on that appraisal, and anything above it, as my seller says, anything above that's butter. He's like, I like butter. Right, yeah. Like, that's fine with me. Anything above that's butter. That's still all extra. We're not even don't need that. And if we get it, great. Yeah. All right. We'll do one last one, and then we're going to jump off of here. All right. Let's see here. Last property. This one I might throw you off. Okay.
We're playing Stump the Realtor?
Yes. This one. All right. Okay. So 4 rooms, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 774 square feet. What's interesting, I actually had this house under contract last year, and the buyer walked away after the inspection. It was on the market originally at $164,900, and I just have to tell you that price. 4 rooms, 2 bedrooms, 774 square feet. So it's a small house, but it did have a finished basement. Let's see here. Vinyl sided. The roof, it was not a newer roof. I want to say it was like 10 or 15 years old. Mostly replacement windows, gas heat, new gas, hot water. Had a deck and patio on the back. Fenced in yard. Let's see here. 0.12 acres. And it was 18 days on the market, 1 day before they had an offer. What did it sell for?
182.
Started at 164,900. Going with 182.
1 day till offer. Within the last month. 2 bedroom. Is that right? Within the last month? What zip code was this?
01119.
192. James said
190.
Oh, I guess I'm below what I did.
192.
I think 182.
All right. Well, folks, she's right again. $190,000. Yes. $190,000. That's what it sold for. And that's why she's the Maria Acuna of Maria Acuna Real Estate. She knows what she's talking about. Yes. Thank you. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up for this week. Thank you, everybody, for actually joining us. If you did, we'll be on again some point. Might get a notice. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. Roughly 2 weeks. All right. Roughly 2 weeks. All right, guys. And as always, if anybody's interested in buying or selling a house in Massachusetts or Connecticut, reach out to us at HeSellsHouses or at Arlene the Realtor, and we'll get you guys taken care of. See you later.
Peace.